TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom Ve'erev Tov, good evening. Welcome to our daily TV7 Israel News Bulletin, broadcast from Jerusalem. The Islamic Republic of Iran asserts that the Strait of Hormuz will not open unless the United States essentially accepts defeat. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu rejects the latest 15-point roadmap, which demands Israel disengage from the Gaza Strip before Hamas fully disarms. And Turkey is keen on enlarging the pact with Saudi Arabia and Pakistan to additional Islamic nations. Efforts by the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and Qatar in particular to convince U.S. President Donald Trump and his regional emissaries that an agreement with Iran on opening the Strait of Hormuz was imminent has proven to be unambiguously false. To the contrary, the Ayatollah regime has essentially exploited American hopes for a deal, which resulted in President Trump's decision to postpone a joint Israeli-American attack against Iran to raise the bar on a long list of demands, emphasizing that the Strait of Hormuz would only open if the United States agrees to 1. Never threaten or insult Iran in any language, 2. Permanently end the war against Iran and Iran's proxies in Lebanon, Gaza, Yemen, and Iraq, and 3. Lift the naval blockade and withdraw military forces from the surroundings of Iran. In addition to those demands, the Ayatollah regime now also demands for full compensation and damages for the war, to include the lifting of all sanctions and the release of all Iranian frozen funds. Now, according to Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, all of the listed demands would be discussed between the United States and Iran as part of a separate track from the one currently being held with Oman. However, the foundation for those negotiations, which includes America's capitulation to Iranian demands, have yet to be achieved.
A negotiation has its own definition. In any case, negotiations take place on a specific subject to reach a result. Currently, we have no negotiations with the United States. Yes, there is an exchange of messages through intermediaries, but this is not called negotiation. It is called an exchange of messages. The intermediaries are still trying to recreate the grounds for negotiation. From our perspective, until the violations of the Memorandum of Understanding end and the U.S. compensates for what it has violated in the memorandum, there is no possibility of restarting negotiations.
Tehran's top diplomat went on to insist that while there are no negotiations with the United States at this point in time, the technical negotiations on establishing routes in the Strait of Hormuz for both Oman and Iran, which would essentially grant Tehran control over the strait, are progressing well.
Our negotiations with Oman are regarding the determination of a new maritime route in the Strait of Hormuz. These negotiations have progressed well. I can say we are in the final stages, and the old existing routes will be replaced with new ones. Specialists are currently working on the maps. Of course, this does not mean the opening of the Strait of Hormuz. This agreement may take place, but the opening of the Strait of Hormuz is contingent upon the fulfillment of a set of other conditions, which have, in any case, been conveyed through intermediaries.
It is important to highlight that the United Arab Emirates announced on Saturday that a commercial vessel transiting the Strait of Hormuz was struck by a missile, which, according to the UK Maritime Trade Operations, or UK MTO, the vessel was struck by a projectile off the coast of Oman. Thankfully, no injuries were reported. Moreover, the RGC-backed Ansar Allah terror group, which is dominated by the Houthi tribe in Yemen, claimed responsibility for drone and missile attacks directed at a Saudi oil refinery facility in the kingdom's city of Jizan, which, according to Saudi authorities, sparked a blaze that was subsequently extinguished. A second attack was also launched by the Houthis against the port of Moha, which is controlled by the Saudi-backed Yemeni government. These attacks were merely a few out of many others that took place, including earlier today. Meanwhile, in Jerusalem, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, during his weekly cabinet meeting, highlighted the fact that Iran continues to refrain from attacking Israel, knowing full well that any attack would result in a devastating response.
בוודאי שמתם לב לעובדה מעניינת. איראן תוקפת.
You have surely noticed an interesting point. Iran attacks all the countries in the region, and even outside the region, but there is one country it does not attack, the State of Israel. It has not attacked us far. It might attack, but why have long weeks passed and it has not attacked us? Because it knows the massive blow we will inflict upon it if it does so. I am saying this because lately, over the past 2 days, we have been flooded with a wave of rumors about Israeli weakness and Israeli withdrawals on all fronts. The most amusing thing is that these attacks come from people who preached withdrawing from the entire Gaza Strip, not entering Lebanon at all, and not striking Iran. Therefore, I asked to go over the fronts with you briefly, one by one. First of all, Iran. I greatly appreciate President Trump. He is the greatest of our friends in the White House. I greatly appreciate the historical partnership with the U.S. against Iran's attempts to acquire nuclear weapons. And I wish to emphasize once again, with or without an agreement, as long as I am Prime Minister, Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. Because the existence of our precious country, the country of all of us, the existence of
הקיום של ישראל אינו עומד למשא ומתן.
Prime Minister Netanyahu continued to address the latest developments related to a 15-point roadmap that Turkey, Qatar, and Egypt had reached with the Islamist Hamas terror organization related to a phased disarmament by the terror group in exchange for the IDF's withdrawal from the Gaza Strip, an agreement which President Trump said was a monumental step toward lasting peace and security that he had labeled historic.
As for the Gaza Strip, first and foremost, I wish to clarify the main point. As long as I am Prime Minister, a Palestinian state will not be established, neither in Gaza nor in Judea and Samaria, neither Fatistan nor Hamastan. Regarding specific matters surfacing in the news lately, I wish to be precise here. Israel does not accept the 15-point document. I have heard people saying, "You didn't say it." So here I am saying it again, Israel does not accept the 15-point document. The IDF will not carry out any withdrawal until Hamas is disarmed. And when I say the disarming of Hamas, it means heavy weaponry, lighter weaponry, all weaponry. And we are talking about genuine disarmament, not fictitious disarmament. Right now, we are talking with the Americans about this issue. They have ideas, some of which are acceptable to us and some of which are unacceptable, and we know how to stand firm in the face of these matters. We have proven this in the past, and we are proving it today as well. Furthermore, the IDF will continue to thwart threats against our forces and our citizens. Because, again, the existence of Israel and the security of all Israeli citizens are not up for negotiation. We stand firm on these interests. We do not do this in advertising agencies, we actually do it on the ground. We proved this all over and over, when we entered Rafah and the Philadelphia corridor, when we entered Lebanon and eliminated Nasrallah and the rocket stockpile there, and when we struck Iran twice. Unlike all those who lecture us, we do what needs to be done for Israel's security, and we can and know how to stand our ground, even in the face of pressure from our best friends when necessary.
Meanwhile, the Islamist Hamas launched a campaign aimed at triggering frustration in Washington against Israel's leadership in Jerusalem, while senior intelligence officials had told TV7 on condition of anonymity that the internationally designated terror group Hamas did not intend to abide by any of its commitments to disarm. It is advancing every effort to depict Israel as a spoiler that does not seek a peaceful resolution to the conflict. Turning to Ankara, where Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan, in an interview to local media, voiced Turkey's efforts to rally the international community by a variety of methods to isolate Israel.
İsrail'in
As long as Israel's fundamental objective is to make Gaza devoid of Palestinians, it will continue to resort to such tactics. So how can this be prevented? International political mobilization must continue without interruption. The issue must be kept constantly on the agenda through creative ideas and sustained action. What Israel fears most is international isolation.
Ankara's top diplomat continued by addressing the latest regional defense treaty between Turkey, the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, insisting that the pact did not aim at any one adversary.
Let me underline this. Iran is not a target of this organization. It is not the target? No. But Israel and Iran stand out as the two countries that are elements of conflict in the region. Countries that do not attack us are not our target.
Foreign Minister Fidan further revealed that Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and the Islamic Republic of Pakistan are very keen on having Egypt join the security pact, since the four countries have created already a group of four which aims to shore up their industrial interoperability and much more. Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News, which is made possible by the generosity of our viewers. If you're blessed by our productions and would like to help support TV7 Israel, which it operates as a non-profit, you can donate via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. Please keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. I'm Jonathan Essen, wishing you a Shavua Mevorach. God willing, until our next update, Shalom from Jerusalem.